Hey guys, Pete here. It's that time of the week. It's time for the weekly spoiler report. Just to give you a warning, if you don't want to know what's going on at the filming locations for Game of Thrones Season 7 or any of the cast news, then you won't want to watch this video. I do have a giveaway going on though, so check out one of my non-spoiler videos that I just put out, like my recap of the history and lore for the Tourney at Harrenhal video that just came out. You can learn how to enter my book giveaway there, and everyone else can learn about it at the end of this video. All right, if that's out of the way, let's get into it. So we talked last week about how they finished up all the filming in Seville, and then they were supposed to move to Almodovar del Rio Castle to shoot for about a week. We've seen this castle and we've talked about it in some of the earlier videos, but we weren't exactly sure which one of the castles of the Seven Kingdoms it would be. It's an 8th century Muslim castle and it's been renovated a bunch of different times, so there's several different architectural styles and from different eras and cultures. This led to some confusion. Even though a lot of us thought it would probably be Highgarden, we just didn't know. Then last Saturday, Cordopolis, a magazine out of Spain, started dropping a ton of photographs, and they say that the scenes do depict parts of Highgarden. They also said there'll be a conflict taking place inside the walls between the Tyrells and the Lannister soldiers. In a follow-up article, Cordopolis also said that they had a resident from the town who's acting as the body double for Diana Rigg, who plays Olenna Tyrell. Then we got this picture of the Lannister flag flying over the castle. It was a little bit confusing because we weren't sure if this was an indication that the Lannisters took over Highgarden. There is an alternate explanation, however, though. This castle could be playing Casterly Rock too, because as I mentioned before, there's definitely some different architecture in the same compound. This was further backed up whenever Grey Worm showed up on the set, because according to sources, he's not going to be involved in any of the Highgarden scenes. Instead, he's going to be the Unsullied commander when his men assault Casterly Rock. So we talked about it last week that both of these castles would come up, and it looks like they are just using the actual same place. There may be other interior shots and different things, but so far, the large battle scene I told you that's coming up that they haven't started filming yet, that looks like it's going to be around Highgarden. So it's a little bit confusing, but the way that I'm seeing it is Daenerys and one of her dragons at least is going to lead the Dothraki horde in an ambush against Jaime, Bronn, and the Lannisters, who have just taken over a nearby castle. If you look at it like that, it sounds like they're going to take over Highgarden, since Casterly Rock is theirs, but we'll have to wait until they actually start doing the battle scene, and maybe we'll learn some more. The other crazy thing about this particular shoot, I mentioned Grey Worm. Watchers on the Walls reporting that they have information from sources that Grey Worm and Missande's relationship will actually go much further than in previous seasons. In fact, there is a sex scene in the works. So I'm not even sure how that works, so I'm just going to move on to the next thing. The next day we got a photo from a different castle, Trujillo Castle, with the Lannister flag as well. Like I said, this is where it gets confusing because they said that Grey Worm was at the other place for an attack on Casterly Rock, but with this photo here, it would say that Trujillo is Casterly Rock. So either way, there are two different castle exteriors that are flying the Lannister flag, which would mean that we can definitely expect Highgarden to fall. And on that same day, back from the other castle, we saw some photos of the cast where it looks like there's a bunch of beaten up Tyrell men that were headed to the scene to shoot. From there, we got some news from the north, a place called Wolf Hill Quarry in the hills above Belfast. I mentioned this last week, and we saw a picture from Tormund's Instagram account where he had snow in his beard. We got some set pictures here that you can see, and there was no filming going on at the time, but you can see a lot of stuff based on these photos. They added a bunch of fake snow and created a fake icy surface, which looks pretty much like an iced over lake or, some kind of still body of water. The green screens are also pretty interesting. You could see that they could do different things at different times here, but green screens scenes make me wonder if there might be some kind of White Walker action involved in this particular spot. Either way, it's very likely this is north beyond the wall, and it's probably related to the story that we heard earlier about the crew bringing back a white to prove that there's a serious threat going on up there. Even though filming is still not started in Caceres, they are doing a lot of preparation, and we got some cool photos of that. And we even got a shot of James Faulkner, who plays Randall Tarley, practicing some horse riding. We'll learn a lot more about this once they start shooting next week, but the way it looks is that the Tyrells get into a squabble with the Lannisters, and then the Lannisters get attacked after, or ambushed by Daenerys. And it looks like there's a lot of different stuff in these photos where they have a lot of different wagons and things like that where they're transporting stuff that they probably got from Highgarden. Hoy released a bunch of photos from Trujillo, and we found out that there was a lot more extras involved than what was originally mentioned. Something like 250 extras, so that's really up in the air. They're doing a bunch of different stuff in a bunch of different places, so with some of the later reports we get a little better idea. After all that prep, we finally get to see some of the major actors interacting at this site. Jaime and Bronn were seen shooting scenes atop the walls with their guards standing watch. It's a cool picture where we see that they're looking over, talking about, they're having a conversation. We see the cameras boom out over top, so even though we're seeing it from a distance, this will be a conversation they're having on top of the wall where they talk about what they're going to do. Now, Los Siete Reinos reported that the actors were seen loading those barrels that we saw on the carts in the previous thing that would be in the big ambush scene. So we can pretty much now say that this is Highgarden. The Lannisters have taken over and they're taking away the plunder when they get attacked by Daenerys, which we'll get to see next week once they start filming. So some really cool shots of the actors in their costumes and what looks like a pretty great castle with the Lannister flags flying over top. After that, we got some news that a new actor was joining the cast. His name's Tom Hopper. Again, Los Siete Reinos got some photos from Hoy that showed him together with James Faulkner, who plays Randall Tarley, on a bench in the city, along with different rumors about him showing up at gyms with Bronn and Jaime. Because of the combination of the locations and who he's with, it's most likely he's going to be playing Dickon Tarley, who we did meet last season and was a different character. From what I understand, Watchers on the Wall say the guy who played him last year may be tied up with something else, so we may be seeing this Tom Hopper as Dickon in this season. I didn't know who he was. I guess he was on a show called Black Sails, which I've never watched, and another one named Merlin. So if you're a fan of one of those shows, you probably already know who he is. All roads seem to be leading back to this major ambush scene. So what they've heard is that Dickon and Randall will both be fighting in that scene. So it's a pretty major role, as he's the heir to a great house. So yesterday, the final news I'm going to talk about came out, and this ties back to the Wolf Hill Quarry location that I was talking about that had the green screens and everything a few minutes ago. Watchers on the Wall are reporting that their sources are saying there's going to be at least 3 weeks of filming at the Wolf Hill Quarry. This is going to be going on at the same time as the big battle scene is going on in Spain, so we could be getting a ton of stuff over the next few weeks. Just to give an idea how big this is going to be, according to those same sources, they say there's going to be 300 whites. Now, if you remember last season, that was pretty impressive in the hold a door scene with all those people. That wasn't close to 300 whites, so this is going to be a truly gigantic production up here. Plus, if they're shooting for 3 weeks, there could be different scenes going on, but some of them are going to be really elaborate. So they also had a bunch of spoilers that they printed yesterday, and some of it's things that we've already heard, and then some of it's a little bit about old questions that have been sort of hanging in the air. So the first thing is that we find out that Jorah does go to Old Town. If you remember his last scene, he gets sent away by Daenerys to cure his grayscale, so he ends up there and he meets Sam. Now, in the books at least, the Maesters of the Citadel have no real interest in curing grayscale, and as we know that people who have it basically get sent away to live with the Stone Men. So they're going to need an in as far as how that goes together. Apparently, Sam's going to help him because he's going to find out that he's the son of his former Lord Commander at the Wall, the old Bear Mormont. The other spoilers come from the north, which it seems like we haven't been talking about too much since there's so much action going on with battles elsewhere. Watchers on the Wall is reporting, though, that the 3 Stark siblings who were there will reunite. That would be Sansa, Arya, and Bran. What they tell is pretty close to what we learned from the supposed plot leak that came out a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now. Everything's happy at first, but then there's going to be conflict between Sansa and Arya, where, as I mentioned way back when we heard that these actresses might be on the same stage, that, you know, Arya has gone through a lot of different things, and even though Sansa has as well, they're just, the divide that was between them as when they were children has just kind of grown wider. They're both been through really tough times, but their position is completely different. Of course, Littlefinger is supposed to realize that there's tension, and then he's going to try to take advantage of that. So it's pretty similar to what, you know, that the Reddit leak had mentioned. Doesn't say anything else beyond that, except to say that there was that theory out there that Sansa might have been pregnant with Ramsay's child. Watchers on the Wall say that they can definitely say that it is not true. Sansa will not be or get pregnant in season 7. I never really thought this was a thing, like it never really added up to me, but I feel like that's going to bring a relief to a lot of people who want Ramsay to be gone for good. I don't think anyone wanted to see Sansa give birth to new Bolton offspring. I mean, I think we've all had enough of him at this point. But that's pretty much it for everything that came out. It's a lot of stuff, though. I mean, I'm excited. I wasn't really pumped up about Jorah getting cured at the Citadel. I didn't think it was very consistent, but this does kind of make sense. If there's information there on how to cure it, then Sam's the guy to find it. And this is a move that he would definitely make. He's definitely going to help out someone that he cared so much about, you know, his son. So I'm okay with that. I feel like all the stuff with Casterly Rock and Highgarden is pretty exciting. It makes you wonder how it's all going to go down. But if the Lannisters sack Highgarden and they're taking stuff away, then things aren't going to end well for the Queen of Thorns. That part is pretty clear. And even though she lost everyone in the last season, they would still, I mean, for that reason, really, they have to take her out. You know, I mean, they can't really leave her around. She's their enemy until she dies, basically. So that's all pretty cool. The North stuff's pretty interesting. I hope we get to see some shots of them filming that stuff up there. And I'm really curious to see just how big these scenes look. I don't know if they'll be, I mean, they're going to be closed sets, but with 3 weeks of filming in 2 different locations, I hope we get some cool shots to see what everything looks like. So please like the video if you found it enjoyable to watch, and check back next week. I'll have a new one with all this new stuff we're talking about. It's become a weekly thing. I do it every Saturday. Check out my other videos I put out this week. Make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with that. I'm on a pretty regular schedule right now, and I'm trying to get out as many videos as I can for Game of Thrones, even though we're in the long wait. I do have a book giveaway going on, and I do want you guys to enter, so just make sure you subscribe and leave a comment on this video or any of the other videos where I mention this particular giveaway. When I hit 28,000 subscribers, I am going to be sending one commenter on one of those videos a copy of the new 20th anniversary edition of A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. It's a super nice anniversary edition, and you'll definitely want to get a hold of that if you're a fan of the show. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.